The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. They built telescopes. They sent rockets. They dreamed of meeting others who lived among those distant lights. In the year 2347, that dream came true. Admiral stood on the bridge of the HSS Unity, Earth's first diplomatic vessel. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years in the military, but he had never fired a weapon in anger. He believed in peace. He believed that words were stronger than bullets. "Admiral, we are approaching the Galactic Council station," said Lieutenant from her console. She was young, barely 30, but she was one of the best pilots humanity had ever produced. Nodded slowly. "Take us in nice and easy. We want them to see we come as friends." The station was enormous. It floated in the darkness of space like a metal flower with hundreds of ships docked around it. Some ships were small. Others were bigger than mountains. Humanity's vessel looked like a toy compared to them. "Look at all those ships," whispered Ensign. He stood near the window, his eyes wide with wonder. "There must be hundreds of different species here." Walked to stand beside him. "Yes, and today we join them. Today humanity takes its place among the stars." The docking process took an hour. When the doors finally opened, a group of aliens waited on the other side. They were tall creatures with blue skin and 4 arms. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in a language that the translator turned into Korean. "Welcome, humans. I am Ambassador Krill of the Union. The Council has been waiting for you." Bowed respectfully. "Thank you for receiving us. We come in peace, seeking friendship and partnership." Krill made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace. Yes, we shall see." The council chamber was a massive room filled with representatives from over 200 species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that could not even tell where their eyes were. All of them watched as the human delegation walked to the center of the room. "Speak, human," boomed a voice from above. It came from a creature that looked like a giant insect sitting on the highest platform. "Tell us why you have come." Cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral of Earth. Humanity has traveled far to stand before you today. We do not come seeking conquest. We do not come seeking power. We come seeking friendship." Silence filled the room. Then whispers began spreading among the delegates. "Friendship," said a voice from the left. It came from a creature covered in scales, with eyes that glowed red. "And what does humanity offer in return for this friendship?" "We offer our culture," replied. "Our art, our music, our stories. We offer our scientists who are eager to learn and share knowledge. We offer trade, resources from our solar system in exchange for technologies that could help our people live better lives." "You offer nothing of value," said another voice. This one came from the right side of the chamber, turned to look. The speaker had read about them in the briefing files. The Empire controlled over 300 star systems. They were conquerors, taking what they wanted by force. Their bodies were covered in dark armor-like skin, and their faces had no expression that humans could read. "The humans are weak," the representative continued. His name was Lord, and he sat surrounded by soldiers. "They have no warships. No weapons worth mentioning. They are prey animals pretending to be hunters." Kept his voice calm. "We have chosen not to build weapons of war. We believe that cooperation brings more benefits than conflict." "Cooperation," stood up from his seat. He was huge, almost 3 meters tall. "Cooperation is for the weak. The strong take what they want. That is the way of the universe." "Perhaps," said quietly, "the universe needs a new way." Stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was an ugly sound like rocks grinding together. "You amuse me, human, but amusement does not protect your colonies. Remember that." The council meeting continued for several more hours. Many species showed interest in humanity's offer. They wanted to trade medical technology. They were curious about human music. Even the cold, silent graves sent a message expressing interest in cultural exchange. But they remained hostile throughout. When the meeting ended, returned to his ship feeling hopeful despite threats, he called his crew together in the mess hall. "Today was a good day," he told them. "We made friends, real friends. Yes, they are dangerous, but the Council will protect us. We are part of their community now." Commander stood in the back of the room. She was second in command, a woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. Unlike she had seen war, she had fought pirates in the outer colonies and had lost friends to violence. "Admiral," she said carefully, "they did not look like they were joking. Should we not prepare for trouble?" Smiled kindly at her. "I understand your concern, but building weapons would send the wrong message. It would tell the galaxy that we expect war, and if you expect war, war is what you get. No, we will show them that peace is possible." Nodded, but her eyes remained troubled. 3 weeks later, they attacked. They struck without warning. 3 human colonies on the edge of explored space were hit simultaneously. The attacks lasted only hours. When they ended, nothing remained but burning buildings and dead bodies. 40,000 humans died in a single night. Admiral received the news on the bridge of the Unity. He read the reports in silence, his hands shaking, was crying at her console, looked like he was going to be sick. Walked up to stand beside him. "Admiral, what do we do?" Did not answer. He stared at the images on the screen, cities in flames, bodies lying in the streets, children who would never grow up. He had believed in peace. He had believed that words were enough. He had been wrong. "Contact Earth," he said finally. His voice was empty, hollow. "Tell them everything and tell them." He paused, struggling to find the words. "Tell them we need to prepare for everything." Nodded slowly. She understood what he meant. The galaxy had shown humanity its true face, and now humanity would have to decide what face to show in return. The message that went back to Earth was simple. It contained no anger, no threats, no promises of revenge. It contained only facts, the number of dead, the planets destroyed, the enemy responsible. But hidden within those facts was something more, something that would change humanity forever. It was a question, asked silently by every person who read those words. What are we going to do about it? The answer would take 2 years to arrive. And when it did, the galaxy would learn that peace was only one side of humanity. The other side was something far more terrifying. The galaxy waited for humanity to respond. They waited for angry messages, for threats of war, for desperate pleas for help. They received nothing. Earth went silent. At first, they laughed about it. Lord held celebrations on his warship, raising drinks to honor his great victory. "The humans have learned their place," he announced to his officers. "They understand now that they are nothing. They will hide in their corner of space and never bother us again." His officers cheered. The Empire sent reports throughout the galaxy, bragging about how easily they had crushed the newcomers. Many species read these reports with concern. Others read them with secret relief. At least they were focused on someone else. But Commander read them with cold fury. She stood in an underground bunker beneath the city of Seoul, surrounded by screens showing data from across human space. The room was filled with officers from every nation on Earth. For the first time in human history, there were no borders. There were no competing governments. There was only humanity. "Report," she said quietly. General Park Sung stepped forward. He was an older man with a face and hands that never stopped moving. Before the attack, he had been retired, spending his days fishing and playing with his. Now he wore a uniform again. "All civilian ships have been recalled to protected space," he said. "Our remaining colonies are evacuating to fortified positions. We have established communication blackouts on all channels that might be monitoring." Nodded, and the council. They expressed condolences, Park said, his voice bitter. They said they would investigate. They said they hoped we could resolve this peacefully. Peacefully? Repeated the word like it was poison. 40,000 of our people are dead and they want peace. They are afraid of said another voice. It belonged to Admiral Shin, who commanded what remained of Earth's tiny fleet. She was a small woman with gray streaks in her hair, but her eyes were harder than steel. They have 300 systems. The council members do not want to make enemies of them. Then we make enemies of no one, said. We stay silent, we give them nothing to react to, and while they celebrate and laugh and forget about us, she paused, looking around the room, we prepare. The project was given no official name. Those who worked on it simply called it the work. It began in secret facilities hidden deep underground, in space stations disguised as mining operations, in laboratories built inside asteroids. Every scientist on Earth was recruited, every engineer, every factory was converted, every resource was redirected. Humanity had spent centuries building things for comfort, cars, phones, entertainment systems. Now they built only one thing. Weapons. Dr. O led the propulsion team. She had spent her career designing engines for cargo ships, slow and steady vessels meant to carry goods between planets. Now she designed something different. The problem with our old ships was speed, she explained to her team. They are faster than us. They can choose when and where to fight. We need to change that. She worked for 3 months without sleeping more than a few hours each night. Her team thought she was crazy. They were probably right. But at the end of those 3 months, she presented her results to Commander. We call it the jump drive, said, her eyes red from exhaustion. It folds space. A ship equipped with this can cross 100 light years in seconds. Study the plans. How many can we build? Give me a year. I can equip a fleet. Meanwhile, other teams worked on other problems. Dr. Jin, a physicist who had once studied black holes, developed new shields that could absorb energy weapons. Han, a young engineer designed armor plating made from materials that did not exist in nature, created atom by atom in special factories. And in the deepest, most secret facility of all, a team led by Doctor worked on something terrible. Had been on the Unity during the first council meeting. He had watched Lord mock humanity. He had seen the images of the destroyed colonies. Something inside him had broken that day. Something else had grown in its place. They think they know war, he told his team. They have fought weak species who surrender quickly. They have never faced an enemy who would rather die than lose. They have never faced an enemy willing to do anything to win. His project was called Prometheus. It was a weapon that could destroy entire planets. It was horrible. It was necessary. As the months passed, Commander traveled constantly. She visited factories and laboratories. She spoke to workers and scientists. She carried a message from Admiral, who had returned to Earth as a changed man. The Admiral wanted me to tell you something, she said at each stop. He said that he still believes in peace. He still believes that cooperation is better than conflict. But he also believes that peace must be protected. And to protect it, we must be strong enough that no one will ever dare attack us again. The workers listened. They understood. They worked harder. 1 year after the attack stood in a massive underground hangar. Before her sat the first completed warship of the new Terran fleet. It was called the Vengeance, and it was beautiful in the way that a sword is beautiful, simple, elegant, and deadly. How many more? She asked Admiral Shin. 12 are ready, Shin replied. Another 40 will be complete within 3 months. By the end of next year we will have 200. 200 against the thousands, murmured. Our ships are better, Shin said confidently. Faster, stronger, our weapons hit harder, our shields last longer. One of our ships is worth 10 of theirs. Wanted to believe her, she had to believe her. Throughout this time, the galaxy continued to ignore humanity. They occasionally mentioned them in jokes. Other species sometimes wondered why the humans had gone so quiet, but no one investigated. No one cared enough to look. That was their mistake. 2 years after the attacks, Commander stood before a gathering of Earth's leaders. The meeting was held in the same bunker where everything had begun, but now that bunker was connected to thousands of others around the world. Every nation, every leader, everyone united. "The time has come," she announced. "Our fleet is ready, our soldiers are trained. We have spent 2 years in silence letting our enemies think we were broken. We let them laugh at us. We let them forget us. Now we remind them who we are." She activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with territory highlighted in red. 12 targets blinked on the map, 12 military installations at the edge of their space. "We strike all 12 simultaneously," continued. "They will not know what hit them. By the time they organize a response, we will have moved on to the next targets. We will not stop until they beg for the peace they us." The room was silent. Then one by one the leaders stood. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. This was not a moment for joy. This was a moment for determination. Admiral was the last to stand. He looked older now, worn down by grief and responsibility, but his voice was steady when he spoke. 2 years ago I believed that peace was all humanity needed. I was wrong. Peace must be earned. Peace must be defended. And sometimes peace must be fought for." He paused, looking at each face in the room. "May whatever gods exist forgive us for what we are about to do, and may our enemies understand that this was their choice, not ours." The next morning, the Terran fleet left Earth. 200 warships, carrying 50,000 soldiers, disappeared into the darkness of space. The silence was over. The war had begun. General Park Sung stood on the bridge of the TFS Vengeance, watching the stars blur past the windows. The jump drive hummed beneath his feet, folding space in ways that still made his head hurt to think about. Beside him, Captain Lee checked her console for the 100th time. "5 minutes to arrival," she announced. "All systems ready." Park nodded slowly. He was 63 years old, too old for war by most standards, but he had refused to stay behind. His grandson had died in the colony attacks. His daughter had not stopped crying for 6 months. He was here because he needed to be here. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Final check. I want every ship ready the moment we arrive." The Terran fleet moved through folded space like ghosts. 200 ships, invisible to any sensor, traveling faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. At the front flew the Vengeance and its sister ships, the Resolution, the Defiance, and the Unity, named in honor of the diplomatic vessel that had carried humanity's first message of peace. Now these ships carried a different message. The first target was a military station called. It guarded the entrance to a major trade route and housed over 10,000 soldiers. The station's commander was a general named, who had personally ordered the attack on one of the human colonies. General was sleeping when the alarm started. He woke to the sound of explosions and the screaming of his officers. The station shook violently as something hit the outer shields, grabbed his armor and ran to the command center, shouting orders the entire way. "Report," he demanded as he burst through the doors. "What is happening?" His sensor officer turned to him with terror in his eyes. "Ships, General, human ships. They appeared from nowhere, no warning, no signals, nothing. They are already inside our defense perimeter." "Impossible," growled. "The humans have no ships capable of." Another explosion cut him off. On the main screen, he watched as one of his patrol vessels broke apart, destroyed by weapons fire from a ship he could barely see. The human vessel was smaller than his warships, but it moved with impossible speed, dodging return fire like it was standing still. "All ships engage," ordered, "destroy them." But his ships could not destroy what they could not hit. The human fleet danced through the formation, firing precise shots that crippled engines and destroyed weapons. They did not waste ammunition. Every shot counted. Every movement had purpose. General Park watched the battle from the Vengeance's bridge. His face showed no emotion as ships exploded on his screens. "Target their command center," he ordered calmly. "Let us end this." Captain relayed the order. The Vengeance turned toward the station, its main cannon charging with a sound like thunder building in the distance. The weapon was called the Hammer, Dr. Jin's masterpiece. It fired a concentrated beam of energy that could cut through any known material. General saw the human flagship turning toward him. He saw the cannon glowing brighter and brighter. For the first time in his long military career, he felt fear. "All power to shields," he screamed. "Maximum defensive." The hammer fired. The beam hit the station's shields and passed through them like they were not there. It struck the command center directly, turning metal and flesh into vapor in an instant. General did not even have time to scream. Station went dark. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure as power systems failed. Within minutes, what had been one of the Empire's strongest military positions was nothing but floating debris. Park stared at the destruction in silence. Then he turned to his communications officer. "Send the signal to the other groups. Report status." The reports came in one by one. Target 2 destroyed. Target 3 destroyed. Targets 4 through 12 all destroyed. Across the edge of space, 12 military installations had fallen in less than an hour. They had lost over 100,000 soldiers and nearly 200 warships. Humanity had lost 3 ships. When the news reached the Lord did not believe it at first. He read the reports again and again, certain there must be some mistake. The humans were weak. The humans had no weapons. The humans were prey. "Get me confirmation," he demanded. "Send scouts to every location. I want to know exactly what happened." The scouts returned with images and sensor data that made his blood run cold. The human ships were like nothing he had ever seen. They were fast, powerful, and seemingly unstoppable. Worse, they had appeared from nowhere. The sensors had detected nothing until the attack was already. "How?" whispered, staring at the images. "How did they do this?" His advisors had no answers. The humans they had dismissed as weak had somehow become the most dangerous enemy they had ever faced, and no one had seen it coming. The Galactic Council reacted with shock and confusion. Emergency meetings were called. Representatives from dozens of species demanded explanations. How had the humans built such a fleet without anyone noticing? Where had they gotten such advanced technology? What were they planning to do next? Ambassador Krill of the Union requested an audience with the human representatives. He received a response within hours, a recorded message from Commander. "Honored Ambassador," said in the recording, her face calm and cold, "humanity thanks you for your concern during our time of difficulty. We remember that the expressed sympathy after the attacks on our colonies. We remember that you offered kind words." She paused, and her eyes seemed to harden. "We also remember that kind words were all you offered. When we asked for help, you gave us silence. When we asked for justice, you gave us patience. Now we will handle this matter ourselves. We ask only that the Council stay out of our way. This is between humanity and the—" The message ended. Krill sat in stunned silence for a long moment. "What have we done?" he murmured to himself. "What have we allowed to happen?" Back on the Vengeance, General Park called a meeting of his commanders. They gathered in the ship's conference room, 12 captains, each one responsible for a section of the fleet. Captain sat at Park's right hand. "Phase 1 is complete," Park announced. "They know we are coming, they know we are strong. Now we move to Phase 2. He activated a holographic map showing the Empire. More targets blinked on the display: supply depots, shipyards, communication relays. "We do not attack civilian targets," Park continued. "We do not harm innocents. We are not monsters, but we will destroy everything the military needs to function. We will cut their supply lines. We will blind their communications. We will leave them isolated and helpless." Captain Han, commander of the TFS Resolution, raised his hand. "General, what if they try to surrender?" Park was quiet for a moment. "If they surrender, we accept. We are fighting to end a threat, not to commit genocide. But I do not expect them to surrender easily. They are proud. They will fight until they cannot fight anymore." "And then?" asked Captain O of the TFS Defiance. Park looked at her with tired eyes. "Then we deliver our message. Then we make sure they never threaten anyone ever again." The fleet moved deeper into space. Every day brought new victories. Shipyards burned. Supply convoys were captured or destroyed. Communication stations went silent one by one. The military, once so proud and confident, began to fall apart. Lord watched his empire crumble from his palace on the. Every report brought worse news. His generals were dying. His ships were vanishing. His soldiers were asking questions that he could not answer. "Why will the council not help us?" one general demanded during a meeting. "They are supposed to maintain peace in the galaxy." "The council is afraid," admitted bitterly. "They have seen what the humans can do. They do not want to become the next target." "Then what do we do?" Had no answer. For the first time in his life, he was facing an enemy he could not defeat. The humans had been weak once. They had offered peace once. He had laughed at them. He was not laughing anymore. On Earth, the news of the victories was received with quiet satisfaction. There were no celebrations in the streets, no parades or festivals. The people understood that this war was necessary but not joyful. They supported their soldiers with prayers and hope, waiting for the day when peace would return. Admiral watched the reports from his office in Seoul. He felt no happiness at the destruction being caused in humanity's name. Every death weighed on his soul. But he also remembered the 40,000 humans who had died in the initial attacks. He remembered the children who would never grow up, the families torn apart, the dreams destroyed. They had chosen this path. Humanity was simply walking it to the end. "Commander," he said into his communicator, "how long until Phase 3? His voice crackled back through the speaker. 3 weeks, Admiral. The fleet is moving faster than expected. The resistance is collapsing." Closed his eyes. "And the final message, is it ready?" "Yes, Admiral, everything is prepared. When the time comes, they will hear exactly what we want them to hear." Nodded slowly. "Then may history forgive us all." The awakening was complete. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it could become when pushed too far. Now came the hardest part, making sure no one ever pushed them again. Captain Lee had never imagined she would lead the largest military operation in human history. She was 35 years old, born in a small fishing village on the southern coast of Korea. Her father had been a fisherman. Her mother had taught elementary school. Nothing in her childhood had prepared her for this moment. Yet here she was, standing on the bridge of the TFS Vengeance, giving orders that would change the galaxy forever. "All ships report status," she said calmly. The responses came in rapid succession. The Resolution was ready. The Defiance was ready. The Unity, the Courage, the Hope, all 187 remaining ships of the Terran fleet were in position. They hung in the darkness of space like wolves waiting to strike, surrounding the heart of the Empire. General Park stood beside her, his arms crossed over his chest. He had commanded the early campaigns, but age was catching up with him. His hands shook sometimes, and his eyes grew tired quickly. He had passed battlefield command to 3 days ago. "This is it," he said quietly. "The final push. Whatever happens today decides everything." Nodded, she understood the weight of what they were about to do. For 2 months, the Terran fleet had torn through space like a hurricane. They had destroyed military bases, crippled shipyards, and cut communication lines. The mighty Empire was now blind, deaf, and bleeding. But the Empire was not dead. Lord had gathered every remaining ship at the over 800 warships forming a defensive ring around the planet. It was the largest fleet that had ever assembled. It was their last hope. "Signal from the flagship," announced Lieutenant from her console. She had served on the original diplomatic mission and had volunteered for combat duty after the attacks. "Lord is requesting communication." Raised an eyebrow, put him through. The main screen flickered and Lord's face appeared. He looked different from the arrogant conqueror who had mocked humanity at the council meeting 2 years ago. His eyes were sunken. His skin had lost its healthy sheen. He looked like someone who had not slept in weeks. "Human Commander," he said, his voice rough. "I am Lord of the Empire. I wish to discuss terms." "Terms?" kept her voice neutral. "What terms?" "Cease your attack. Withdraw from our space. In return, we will recognize human territory and agree to a non-aggression treaty. We will pay reparations for the colonies we destroyed. We will even return the bodies of your dead for proper burial." Behind, several officers made sounds of disgust. She raised a hand to silence them. "You burned our colonies," she said slowly. "You killed 40,000 innocent people, men, women, children. You laughed about it. You bragged about it. And now you want to negotiate." His jaw tightened. "I am offering peace." "You had the chance to offer peace 2 years ago. We came to your council with open hands. We wanted nothing but friendship. You chose to answer with fire." Leaned forward slightly. "Now we will answer with fire as well." "You cannot win," insisted. "You are outnumbered 4-1. Even with your advanced ships, you cannot defeat us all." Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We shall see." She cut the communication and turned to her crew. "All ships, begin attack. Priority targets are the command vessels. Take them out and the rest will fall apart." The Terran fleet moved forward. What followed was the largest space battle in galactic history. 187 human ships against 800 warships. The numbers favored the overwhelmingly, but numbers were not everything. The human ships were faster. They darted between the larger vessels, too quick to target effectively. The human weapons were stronger. Each shot from a hammer cannon could cripple a battleship. The human shields were better, absorbing hit after hit that would have destroyed lesser vessels. And the humans fought with something they had never faced before: desperate determination. Captain Han led his squadron directly into the heart of the formation. His ship, the Resolution, took heavy damage in the first minutes of battle. Fire spread through the lower decks. A third of his crew was killed instantly, but did not retreat. "Keep firing," he shouted over the alarms. "Target their flagship. Give them everything we have." The Resolution's main cannon fired again and again, each shot tearing through armor. Around it, other human ships followed its example, pushing deeper despite the danger. They were not trying to survive. They were trying to win. Captain O of the Defiance found herself surrounded by 6 destroyers. Her ship's shields were failing. Her weapons were running low on power. Most commanders would have tried to escape. Accelerated toward the largest enemy ship. "All hands brace for impact," she announced calmly. "Redirect all power to forward weapons." Her crew obeyed without hesitation. The Defiance slammed into the destroyer at full speed, its reinforced hull crashing through the enemy's weaker armor. Both ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light, but the explosion also destroyed 2 other vessels caught in the blast. Watched the Defiance disappear from her tactical display. She said nothing, but her hand tightened on the arm of her chair. Had been her friend. Now she was gone. "Captain," said quietly, "we are receiving reports from across the fleet. Casualties are heavy, but we are winning. The formation is breaking apart." Forced herself to focus. Grief could wait, victory could not. "Press the attack," she ordered. "Do not let them regroup." The battle raged for 3 more hours. Ships on both sides died by the dozens. Space was filled with debris, burning wreckage, and the bodies of the dead. The light from exploding vessels created a terrible, beautiful display that could be seen from the below. On that planet, billions of watched their fleet dying. Some prayed to gods they barely believed in. Others stood in stunned silence. Children asked their parents what was happening, and their parents had no answers. Lord remained on his flagship, the Dominion, fighting to the end. His shields had failed. His weapons were nearly drained. Half his crew was dead, but he refused to surrender. "Keep firing," he screamed at his remaining officers. We do not yield." The Vengeance appeared in front of his ship like a ghost emerging from smoke. Its hull was and blackened from battle damage, but its weapons were still functional. Its main cannon was pointed directly at the Dominion's bridge. Stared at the human ship. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Then Captain's voice came through his speakers, cold and final. "Lord, your fleet is destroyed. Your empire has fallen. You have lost. Surrender now or we will destroy you." Closed his eyes. He thought about everything he had done, the conquests, the victories, the pride that had led him to attack those human colonies. He had thought humanity was weak. He had thought they would be easy prey. He had been so wrong. "I surrender," he said quietly. "I surrender." Across the battlefield, the remaining ships received the order to stand down. Some tried to flee. Most simply stopped fighting, their crews too exhausted and demoralized to continue. The battle was over. The Terran fleet had won. Sat back in her chair, suddenly feeling all the exhaustion she had been ignoring. Around her, her crew was silent. There was no cheering, no celebration. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. 62 human ships destroyed. Over 15,000 soldiers dead. Names and faces that would never be seen again. "Signal Earth," said finally. "Tell them it is done. The military is defeated. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was not military. It was political. As the surviving human ships took up positions around messages were sent to every corner of the galaxy. The Galactic Council received a formal notification. Every species that had ever traded with was informed. News spread faster than light, carried by ships and communication relays to every inhabited system. Humanity had defeated the Empire. Humanity had done what no other species had ever managed. And humanity had a message for everyone who was listening. Admiral prepared to deliver that message. He stood in a studio on Earth, cameras pointed at him from every angle. His face would be broadcast to trillions of beings across the galaxy. His words would be recorded in history. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "To the people of the galaxy, to the members of the Galactic Council, to everyone who is watching." He paused, gathering his thoughts. 2 years ago, humanity came to you in peace. We offered friendship. We offered cooperation. We offered trade and culture and the hope of a better future for all species. We asked only to be treated with the same respect we offered you. His voice hardened slightly. "Instead, we were attacked. Our colonies were burned. Our people were murdered. And when we asked for help, we received nothing but silence." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "So we helped ourselves. We built weapons we never wanted to build. We fought a war we never wanted to fight. We became something we never wanted to become. And now we stand victorious over our enemies." He straightened up, his voice softening again. "But this is not the end. This is the beginning. Humanity will now deliver its final message to and to anyone else who thinks that peace is weakness." The cameras cut away. The broadcast would continue from where Captain waited to complete the message humanity had spent 2 years preparing. The storm had passed, now came the reckoning. It was called. It was a beautiful planet covered in red forests and purple oceans. Billions had lived there for thousands of years, building cities that reached toward the sky and monuments that celebrated their conquests. It was the heart of their civilization, the center of everything they had built. Now it was surrounded by human warships. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, looking down at the planet below. Beside her, General Park Sung watched the same view with tired eyes. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. "It is strange," Park finally said. "I spent my whole career hoping I would never have to fight a war. Now I have won one and I feel nothing but emptiness." Understood what he meant. Victory was supposed to feel good. Victory was supposed to bring joy and relief. But all she felt was a heavy sadness that sat in her chest like a stone. "Admiral's broadcast has been received throughout the galaxy," reported Lieutenant. "The Council is requesting immediate communication. Several species have sent messages expressing concern about our intentions." "They are worried we will do to others what they did to us," Park said quietly. "Can you blame them?" replied. "We have just destroyed the largest military power in the galaxy. Everyone is wondering if they are next." Park shook his head slowly. "That is exactly why we must deliver our message carefully. The galaxy must understand what we are and what we are not." A shuttle descended from the Vengeance toward the planet's surface. On board were Admiral, Commander, and a small honor guard. They had requested to land in the central plaza of the capital city, and Lord had reluctantly agreed. The plaza was massive, larger than any space had ever seen. Thousands had gathered there, watching in silence as the human shuttle touched down. Their eyes held fear, anger, confusion, and something else, something that might have been curiosity. Stepped out of the shuttle first. He wore his admiral's uniform, but he carried no weapons. Behind him and the guards emerged, also unarmed. It was a deliberate choice. They wanted to see that humanity did not come to threaten them. Lord waited at the center of the plaza. He stood alone, without guards or advisors. His posture was defeated, his eyes empty. The proud conqueror who had laughed at humanity was gone. In his place stood a broken leader who had lost everything. "Admiral," said hoarsely, "you have come to deliver your demands." "I have come to deliver a message," corrected gently. "Not demands, a message." He turned to face the crowd of citizens. Cameras hovered in the air, broadcasting his image to every part of the planet and beyond. Trillions of beings across the galaxy were watching. "People of," began, "people of the Empire, I am Admiral of Earth, representing the United Terran government. I come to you today not as a conqueror but as a messenger." He paused, letting his words sink in. 2 years ago, humanity sent a different message. We spoke of peace. We offered our hand in friendship. We believed that all species could live together in harmony, respecting each other's differences and celebrating our similarities. His voice grew heavier. "Your leaders answered that message with fire. They burned our colonies. They killed our children. They laughed at our suffering. And when we cried out for justice, the galaxy turned away." The plaza was silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. "So we taught ourselves a new lesson. We learned that peace must be protected by strength. We learned that kindness without power is simply weakness. We learned to fight." He looked directly at. "And now we have won. Your military is destroyed. Your fleet is gone. Your empire, which once controlled 300 star systems, now exists only at our mercy." Flinched at the words but said nothing. "But here is the part that matters," continued, turning back to the crowd. "We will not destroy you. We will not enslave you. We will not burn your cities or kill your children. We are not like you." A murmur ran through the crowd. Some looked confused. Others seemed suspicious, unable to believe what they were hearing. "Humanity does not seek revenge," said firmly. "We seek justice. We seek security. And we seek to ensure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else." He raised his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the air above him. It showed a document written in multiple languages. "This is the treaty of." It establishes the following terms. First, The Empire will disband its military forces. You may keep a small defensive fleet, but nothing capable of attacking other species. Second, the government will pay reparations to the families of those killed in the colony attacks. Third, Lord and other leaders who ordered the attacks will face trial for their crimes. His face paled, but he nodded slowly. He had expected worse. In exchange, continued, humanity offers the following. We will help rebuild the worlds damaged in the war. We will share our technology to improve your lives. And we will guarantee your safety from any species that might try to take advantage of your weakness. The murmuring in the crowd grew louder. This was not what they had expected. Conquerors did not offer to help their defeated enemies. Conquerors took, conquerors destroyed, conquerors made others suffer. But humans, it seemed, were different. Why? Someone shouted from the crowd. Why would you help us after what we did to you? Smiled sadly. Because hurting you will not bring back our dead. Because making you suffer will not heal our wounds. Because the cycle of violence must end somewhere, and humanity has chosen to end it here. He looked at the sky, where the Terran fleet hung in silent formation. We tried peace, he said quietly. You showed us that peace alone was not enough, so we built weapons. We learned to fight. We became warriors, but warriors are not all we are. He lowered his gaze back to the crowd. We are also builders. We are dreamers. We are artists and scientists and teachers. We are mothers and fathers who want nothing more than to see our children grow up in safety. We are beings who believe that tomorrow can be better than today. His voice rose, carrying across the plaza and beyond. This is our final message to the galaxy. We tried peace and we were attacked. Now you have seen the other side of humanity, our strength, our determination, our refusal to surrender. Remember this side. Remember that we can fight. Remember that we can win. He paused. But also remember that we do not want to fight. We would rather trade than conquer. We would rather build than destroy. We would rather be your friends than your enemies. He spread his hands wide. The choice is yours. Treat us with respect and we will be the best allies you could ever hope for. Attack us, threaten us, harm our people, and you will face the storm that destroyed the Empire. The holographic display changed, showing images of human cities, human families, human children playing in parks, and human artists creating beautiful things. This is who we really are. This is what we want to share with the galaxy: peace, cooperation, a future where all species can grow and learn together. He lowered his hands. We tried peace. We learned war. Now we offer you a choice. We truly hope that you choose peace. The broadcast ended. Silence filled the plaza. Then slowly something unexpected happened. A single in the crowd began to clap, then another, then more. The applause spread through the crowd like a wave, growing louder and louder until it filled the entire plaza. They were not applauding their defeat. They were applauding the possibility of something new, the possibility of a future without endless war, the possibility that even enemies could become friends. Lord watched the crowd with wonder in his eyes. He had ruled through fear for his entire life. He had never imagined that mercy could inspire people in the same way. Admiral, he said quietly, I believe I finally understand what you meant at that first council meeting, when you said that words were stronger than weapons. Looked at him, do you? Yes, bowed his head, a gesture of respect that no leader had ever shown to another species. Words can destroy, but they can also heal. You could have used your words to condemn us. Instead, you used them to offer hope. Nodded slowly. That is all humanity has ever wanted, a chance to offer hope instead of harm. You simply had to let us. The shuttle returned to the Vengeance an hour later. As stepped onto the bridge, Captain and General Park were waiting for him. Both looked exhausted but relieved. It is done, said quietly. The message has been delivered. The galaxy is responding, reported. The Council has formally recognized the Treaty of 17 species have sent messages requesting friendship treaties with humanity. Even the survivors are calling for peace. Park smiled for the first time in months. Perhaps we actually did it. Perhaps we changed things. Perhaps, agreed. But we must remain watchful. Peace is not a destination. It is a journey that never ends. We must walk it every day or we will lose our way. He looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. The hope, the betrayal, the war, and now, finally, the possibility of something better. Humanity tried peace, he murmured. Then we showed them the other side. Now we begin again. And this time maybe the galaxy will listen. The Terran fleet began its long journey home. Behind them, a shattered empire started to rebuild. Ahead of them, a galaxy watched and wondered. Humanity had delivered its message. Now they would wait to see what answer the future would bring.